Let's talk about one of my latest projects, and it is actually not my own. I have this client that she has paid for a particular service, and that particular service entails book publishing. This client has turned in their manuscript, which in turn I have been editing. It is in Spanish, so they've also paid for the translation. So for me to translate it from Spanish to English and edit that book as well, design the cover for both, and to publish both at the same time. And I'm like, let me talk to the people, because it's wild to think that less than a year ago, I was not yet a published author myself. And I have gone from not having been a published author to, oh my goodness, I published my own work. I had somebody else whose book I published for on their behalf. And now I'm publishing two at the same time. I have been contacted by certain individuals who are either in the process of writing a book and kind of need some assistance as to, hey, how much do I write? Because there's a lot that goes into it. And I have somebody else who is like, hey, I haven't even started writing my book. I have an outline. I have mapped out some chapters. I have an idea of what I want to talk about, but I haven't yet put it together. Is this a service that you offer? And it is crazy to think, because, well, it's not crazy. It just is. I never sought out to be a publisher for anybody. I never sought out to be a publisher, yet here I am. This door just somehow opened. Now, mind you, some work has gone into it, but this is what I want to talk to y'all about, because I want to briefly go over how I landed here. Because the moral of the story here is, you just never know where, number one, the journey will take you. And number two, these skills that we acquire along the way, just to save them in your arsenal. You never know when in your journey you're going to need those skills, or those skills will come to play, when those skills will be handy. You just will never know. And you can always monetize a skill that to you is it's easy work. It's, you know what, I know how to do it, and that was okay. I could do that, no problem. But for somebody else, that may not be the case. That may be the most challenging thing for them to do. And there you are, available, being able to potentially offer them a service. That's just that. And well, let's start first quickly here on how in the world did I get into this? Well, it turns out that in 2019, I think it was Fiverr.com. I was on a website looking to monetize some of my skills. If you know me in real life, you know that I'm somebody who always has some type of side gig. I've been this gal since forever. I mean, I would say even my teens. One of my first side gigs was making cupcakes, making cakes. I always have a side gig of sorts. I've done all kinds of random things, from cleaning people's houses to doing Uber to drafting certain legal documents that the law allows me to draft. For instance, back when I lived in Florida, I would draft divorce pleadings, and in other states I have done power of attorneys, and just pretty much, if the law allows me to draft said document without being an attorney, I would do it. I've done translations. I just whatever I can think of that I'm like, I know how to do. This girl's gonna monetize that side gig, because it's always this economy. It's always something. So that's just that. And I set out to Fiverr.com to seek out potential side gigs that maybe I could take on it had been the first time that I had gone on this site and put anything on there for me to potentially be hired for a side gig. I was just trying to explore different options. At the time, I was living in an RV, very tiny space, story for another time, and knew that I would not have access to visiting my client. So whatever I was going to do, I knew that it would have to be virtual. I knew that I would have to be able to communicate with a client through email, e-signing, that kind of thing. So that was the start before COVID, before Zoom was a thing. I knew that, okay, this is something that I need to figure out, because where I'm at currently, geographically speaking, this is not where my clientele is going to be. The clientele that, that's the target audience for the skills that I have to offer. And lo and behold, I was audacious enough to put in for the job of a book editor. So there was this man named Tom Scott, and he had written a book alongside with an attorney called Sarah Nahidi, and they wrote a book, Have the Legal Odds in Your Favor. And Tom was really wanting to get this book translated into Spanish. That was his next goal. And I'm like, I'm your girl. And I had never met Tom or anything like that, but I had put in for, I filled out this form on Fiverr, and he had some questions like, why do you think you're the best person for the job, et cetera, et cetera. Well, Tom had a virtual over the phone interview, and he said it was, hey, it's between you and another candidate. And I'm typically the type of person where I may not look the best on paper. I may not look the best on a resume, but get me on the line. Talk to me on the phone. Talk to me in person. I can connect with you. We can talk about it. We can really have a fruitful, productive conversation. By the end of the call or by the end of the conversation, we will have locked this in. Like, we will have accomplished something, some type of collaboration, something. And that's exactly what happened. So I came into the conversation with Tom. Hey, I know he came in there to ask me questions, but I too came there to ask him questions as far as his vision, timeline. I came in prepared to that call. And for some reason, I really wanted this gig, and not because of the money, but rather because I'm like, I have never been an editor. Like, that was a new challenge for me. I was like, I want the gig. And I got the gig. So I got to translate the book and was the editor for the Spanish version of the book. And lo and behold, it happened. The book was published. I should have brought it on camera, but the book was published. And I'm like, oh my goodness, that is so cool. My name, I have publishing credits inside of this book, and just thought it was the coolest thing, and did it all virtually. I've never in person met Tom at all. And that was that. That was 2019. So fast forward to 2025. By 2025, I had gone through something, and writing was the one way where I could express what I needed to express, what I needed to say. And the title just came to me one day, and somehow I set out to write this book, publish and edit and publish, design, cover, everything in 30 days. And I'm like, I don't have any money. I also want to do this for free 99. And I did it. I'm like, okay, I know that I can write, and there's a whole video. I'm gonna see if I can link it here somehow. Cause it is published here on YouTube. So I'm gonna see if I can link it on how I was able to do that. And it was a huge accomplishment for me. It isn't my best work by any means. It's actually a short little quick read, like 60 pages. It's really more like a pamphlet. Although I've been told that hey, the book may not be lengthy, but it packs a punch. So that's been really the common feedback. And I'm like, I'll take it. the customers are speaking, and this is what the clientele is saying. It's a small book, but it packs a punch. And I'm like, okay. And it's well written. I think it could have done better, but I am my worst critic at times. And it felt good. But even back then, I'm like, I know I have another book in me. And I'm going to do another book. I had mapped it out, et cetera, et cetera. But then I had somebody that I know approach me like, hey, you did your book. Can you help me with mine? And I'm like, well, this is different because if I mess up, this is just my thinking. They don't know. I'm like, if I mess up my own stuff, I'm okay. I can live with that. I'm okay. Maybe I didn't do my best work. Maybe I miss a typo, which, we're bound to do. I can do that. I'm okay. But they're like, no, like, and they had me do it for them. And it was very challenging because their book was, or is, I'm not going to say a technical book, but it is a theology heavy book. And I am actually rather good at theological concepts. It's right up my wheelhouse. But at the time, I'm like, my mind is not in that. And their book was pretty lengthy, was a thicker book. And overall, that task, that project, it stretched me. It really stretched me. But in hindsight, I'm like, it was the best thing I could have done. I learned, it took what I knew about publishing and took it to, okay, now we're going to stretch you to, you're here. Let's bring it up. Let's bring it up here. So then when this particular client whose project I'm working on right now came along, I was able to confidently show up. They actually reached out to me so that I could, it was a consult. They were shopping around to get the book published, et cetera, and had some questions on a publisher they came across. I gave them my honest feedback on things they should be asking, questions they should bring up, things they need to be on the lookout for. And then at the end, I was bold enough to say, hey, respectfully, with all due respect, would you be okay if I were to submit my proposal to you for, if I were to submit or send you my proposal for your consideration? And the client was like, yes. And I sent it, didn't think much about it. And they came back saying, yes. And, the client and I talked about it. It was meant to be how everything unfolded on their end and so forth. And I'm like, oh my goodness. I have unintentionally become a publisher, and inside of the books, my own, the person prior to this current client and this client stuff, it has not just my name, but inadvertently I have entitled the name of the publishing company, the Noni Project Publishing. Noni Project Publishings, and unintentionally I'm becoming, or I guess we can say I have become a publisher, even though I am new at this, very, very new. But again, that's the beauty about it. So I have this thing that I like to say that, hey, at the end of the day, yes, God opens the doors. God determines whether a door is open or whether it stays closed. However, I, at the very least, have to try and turn the doorknob. Whether the door opens or not, that's his business. But I'm going to try to see if the door is unlocked, if I can go through it. And that is just how that is. So I put in a proposal. The client accepted. Bam, door open. Here we are, next level. If it's not meant to be, okay. Client would have never reached out. It just never would have worked out. But we got to take some steps. And this is a video for another time. One of the things that I'm really learning in this season of my life, and God is just deconstructing certain beliefs in me, certain things that I thought from a theological concept were correct, because we're so good at it. We're so good at believing this in church culture. And is the I need to wait for a confirmation from the Lord to do anything. Like, hey, I'm praying and I'm waiting on the Lord. Well, you still got to get moving. Sometimes God will tell you to wait. Sometimes the instruction is to wait. However, if it always requires a confirmation for you to move, then that's not faith. And again, a video for another time. But I am learning in the season, go ahead and get moving. Go ahead and get moving. And God will steer you in the direction in which you should go. And that is just where I'm at. That is just where I'm at. But so all that to say, yeah, I'm officially a publisher. So if you have anything you want to publish, I mean, it could be a pamphlet like mine. By all means, reach out to me. Maybe you're not ready to publish. Maybe you want, hey, I wrote a couple of pieces, short essays, whatever it is. I would like your input, or would like for you to edit, whatever. Reach out to me. I'm going to include this in the show notes. By all means, we all have things to say. We all have a voice, and some of our voices are done via the medium of books, pamphlets, just in written form. It's not always a verbal thing. And I still want to make sure that your voice is heard, that the world can hear and receive what I'm sure God has already placed in your heart. And that's going to be important. But that's it, y'all. I know I've rambled on enough, but let me know what y'all think in the comments. Till next time.